educational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3 o'clock p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep.
What company do you keep? Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it. Welcome.
Yes, hello everyone.
Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It.
Yes, we hope everyone is having a blessed Sunday afternoon.
Yes, absolutely. And before we get started with our show today, we're going to go ahead and do like we always do and have Sharon read a scripture.
Yes, thank you all for tuning in. And I always start out with a scripture. And what I want to do is read the same scripture, but using 3 different versions, because this is going to be so important to what's happening next week in Maryland. And it's Proverbs 27:17. And it says from the New Living Translation, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. That's the NIV version. And as iron sharpens, so one man sharpens, influences another through discussion. And that comes from the Amplified version. And many of you all are aware that my 3rd annual Woman Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference will be held on next Saturday, March 24th. And we're going to go into a little bit more conversation about the why of the conference, the 3 years, what has happened, and get you kind of set up for Saturday.
Yes, I'm excited about the conference, and as I have mentioned to you on several occasions, and I'll mention it again today, I am your MC for the conference, so you know we're going to have a good time.
Yes.
We're going to relax. We're going to empower and embrace and encourage and uplift one another at the conference, so I'm so excited about that.
Right. And when you come to my conference, you have to be prepared for real transparency. And if you're uncomfortable with real transparency, then I don't know how you're going to feel about the conference. But it has been, it's life-changing when you can be transparent about what you used to do, what you've been through, and where God is taking you presently and in the future.
Yes, that's for sure. But before we get into our full-fledged conversation about the conference, we want to kind of give you, as we always do, we usually do a recap. So what we're going to do is, since we were not live last week, we're just going to share with you the reasons why we weren't live last week. As many of you all know, I am a soccer mom through and through. I have been a soccer mom probably for the last 15 plus years, and last Sunday was no different. I had to make a choice. I was actually going to try to come live to you all from Facebook last Sunday, but they changed my son's game to 3:45, which prevented me from doing so. But, sometimes we got to make choices in life, and I chose to support my son and be there for him and his team and root them on to their 11th victory.
Yay, Jalen.
They are on a winning streak,
yes.
And as the guys on the team continuously say, no matter what the question is that you ask them, the answer is, that's because we're state cup champs.
I love it.
And so I'm there to support the state cup champs.
That is right. Yes, absolutely.
And there will be more Sundays throughout the year in which I will have to choose between supporting the state cup champs and also coming to Sisters in Company Live. But, we're doing such great work here that, I have no qualms that, not everybody is seeing every show. And so this also gives people an opportunity to catch a show that they didn't catch when it was live.
And you have to go on YouTube if you've missed any of our shows. That's where they're housed. And so go and check them out and, provide us some feedback about some of the topics you may want to hear. And for me, first of all, let me say, it's probably going to be unusual that Sherelle and I both can't be here. So last weekend was just one of those weekends, and that was okay because things happen in life. And as I told you all, I am the cool, calm, and collected one, and I just don't get excited over things. I just kind of think through some things and move on to what's next. And so we didn't panic. We knew that we had shows out there that you all could look at, and it was all good. And sometimes that's going to happen, but rarely. So we really, really appreciate the continuous support. Now, where was I last weekend? Wow. I was in a place called Belle Arthur, North Carolina, and it is right outside of Greenville. And what was so awesome about that place is when I rode up on it, it had a railroad track going like right through the middle of the city. And so you had the church on the left side of the railroad track. And then on the right in the corner, you had the country grocery store.
I love it.
You had the firehouse. You had the post office. And you just had houses and people were just chilling.
That sounds like somewhere I need to be looking for retirement.
It was
one stoplight. That's what I need, a one stoplight town.
I don't even remember seeing any stoplights.
Oh, that's even better. That means there's no traffic.
They didn't have any stoplights. And so, but the people down there, when I tell you it was phenomenal, the North Carolina folks' hospitality, it's just unmatched. I was a guest speaker at the Antioch Church Ministries Women's Extravaganza for that whole weekend. We were there, and I tell you, it was just a beautiful thing to go and fellowship and share a word with the ladies down there. And I thought that the first lady and Pastor Lisa, she was kind of ingenious in terms of how she thought about it. You know, she asked me to speak on Sunday morning. You know, normally Sunday mornings are reserved for ministers and reverends, but she wanted something different because they hear from reverends and ministers all the time, even from her. And so she wanted a different voice to give them just some more information and some different ways to think about life. And their theme was, it's all about you. And so my theme was, if it's all about you, then the priority has to be you.
Oh, I
because
love it.
See, let me say it again. Their theme was, it's all about you. And I said, well, if it's all about you, then the priority has to be you. And we talked a little bit from Black Panther and the powerful women that were in there, and
Wakanda.
Wakanda for life.
Yes.
You know, and I'll say this again and again: the characters, the women that were in Black Panther, we see them all the time in our communities,
Absolutely.
right? And
Absolutely.
so, which one do you identify with? Are you Okoye, the general? That was a bad sister.
Yes, it
were
was.
you Shuri, the technologist guru who was the smartest one in Wakandia? Were you the mother, you know, who made sure that she was instilling in her son, the Black Panther, that he already was the king? You know, there was nothing for him to do but to accept his rightful place. So which character were you?
Well, according to Facebook, you know, they have those little links you could click on Facebook. It said I was Shuri, the smartest one. So I'm not surprised by that.
That she said that.
That wasn't me who said that. Facebook said that. So I just agreed with it. So yeah, I'm gonna go with it. I was the smartest one.
Yes. And you know, it's just so wonderful to get outside of the box. You know,
Yes.
whatever our boxes are,
Yes.
it is so wonderful because the women I met down there, you know, were just down there doing some amazing things, and to meet and become connected with such a diverse group of ladies, I just feel like I was blessed. You know, they were saying, well, we were blessed by what you had to say, but I was blessed by their presence.
Yes.
And being there with them and the
Yes.
support that they showed. Because see, you know, I was a stranger.
Right.
And here I come, you know, into their space, and you know, who is she? And they it was just well received, and I bless God for that. And that's what I was doing last weekend. But let me just say a little bit about this, because I don't know how many of you feel about this. I feel like my body has been under attack. And it's under attack, and I can't even explain, you know, I know the symptoms, but every time I go to the doctor, they're like, well, you're healthy as a lamb. So I count that all joy, but my body is telling me something. And so I was thinking last week when I went, I was like, I have so much going on that is trying to move women, trying to improve our relationships and improve our mindsets, get us moving in our purpose, that I just felt like my body was just under attack for that and trying to stop me from doing what God would have me to do. And as I said last week to the ladies, I said that just was not going to be my story, and so don't let things be your story that is not designed to be your story.
That's absolutely
right. Don't claim things. Don't hold on to those things. Don't walk in those things. It's not supposed to be your story, because the power is within us, as Ephesians 3:20 talks about. It's in us. So we have to tap into that power and use that power for the betterment of society.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm not claiming anything,
No.
but all good and giving God all the praises.
Yes.
And, I'm staying away from all negativity.
Yes.
People with negativity, let that be theirs. It can't be mine. I'm not even letting it in my atmosphere.
Yes.
Because I want to control the environment that I want to be in. I don't want others controlling my environment or having power over the environment that I choose to live in.
That's right.
So, as we continue to, come to you live every Sunday, I would just like to also encourage you to, just be careful about, what type of energy you let into your environment. May that be your home.
Yes.
May that be your social media sites. May that be whatever. You have the power to dictate how you want to live your life.
Right.
And I choose to live my life with positivity, with great energy, with empowerment, with support, with encouragement. And so that's just how I'm going to live my life. And if I'm getting a little older, and the last couple of weeks I've been having this hip problem. I don't know what happened to it. I ain't fall. My husband ain't hit me. Ain't nothing happened. I just woke up one day and it was real sore, and it's still sore about a week and a half later.
Yes.
It's getting better though.
Yes.
But I'm not going to let that slow me down. I
That's
kept
right.
getting on that treadmill saying I ain't making no excuses about this hip. And so my hip was feeling a lot better till I was doing the wobble last night.
Oh, goodness.
And then I think I had a big setback, but that's okay. I got up this morning and I kept it moving.
Yeah, thinking about line dancing can be pretty strenuous on the body.
It is. Especially if you're doing all that twisting and turning I be doing.
It's a great form of exercise, but it can be very strenuous on the body.
Absolutely.
And so that's our story. And we have to learn to agree to disagree.
Right.
And, just not come at each other any kind of way.
Right.
And so that's the journey that I am on. And that's what I know that God is having me to do. And so that's where we were last week. Now, we have to do a small recap from the show.
Yes.
And the show the week before last, we had two millennials on, and they were fire.
Yes,
I tell
they
you,
were.
Tanya Fletcher and Coach Kelly Speaks, who has her show here at the studio on Monday nights. And I tell you, those millennial women, what I walked away with, and it just resonated in my spirit. I walked away with having perspective. I walked away with perseverance. I walked away with having a mindset, a determined mindset, and it's all rooted in God and their relationship with God, because those ladies, we probably would have still been here talking today for them to tell their stories, because they did not let their stories turn them into negative people and bitter women, and I think Tanya said something I thought was so profound, Sherelle. She said, I was a statistic, but I wasn't going to be a statistic. And I just thought that was powerful, because she recognized as a 14, 15-year-old that she was a statistic. And then she made up in her mind at such a young age that was not going to be her story. And that's what we're talking about. That was not her story.
Yes, and when you start, listening, perspective, I couldn't help but to think of personality.
Yes.
They had wonderful personalities, and even though, the stories that they did tell us or share with us about their upbringing, and Coach Kelly living in a hotel, a motel, let's be clear.
Yeah,
a
right.
motel on Allentown
She was
Road.
very clear about that.
Where it was a brick wall, that she
Yes.
just looked up at. And, she was getting all of these accolades from the outside, but she was living in a hotel and nobody knew. It's that type of perseverance that we all have within us. We just have to take hold of it and move forward with it, and not not continue to make bad decisions because either A, we think we don't know any better, or B, we think that's the best we can do. And so we just keep perpetuating bad decisions. I think we just have to at some point say, you know what? That's not going to be my story. I'm going to start making some good decisions. I'm going to do something different. But understanding that different is not easy.
No.
Different is never
Change
easy.
Is not easy.
You know, different is hard. And, you know, you have to connect yourself with people who know better so that you can listen and learn to do better.
That is right. And one of the things I liked about what they were saying is when they started talking about their children, you know, they kind of related to how they grew up and they just were not going to necessarily do some of the same things. And also, you know, we as human beings, we carry, you know, so much of who we are from our environments, from, you know, who our parents were, who they were not. Just, you know, that's just how it is. And one of the things that I thought about was in my book, Mind Your Mind, I have a chapter called Generational Thinking Challenges.
Yes.
And I was thinking about those ladies that they didn't let those challenges dictate the road that they went down. They stepped up, they looked that thing in the face, they planted their feet firm on the ground, and they said, not me. You can't have me. And so they were just so powerful. So I hope that everyone got a chance to go back and listen to those young, dynamic women, because now they're business owners.
Yes.
Think about that. And she, Tanya said she came from a place called Paradise in D.C. I had never heard of it, from Northeast, and she referred to it as the ghetto. And of course, you go back and listen to it, because there were some things that she shared that was personal, and I just believe once you release those personal things, then you are free. That's when you're really free. Absolutely. You know, when you put it out, because, you know, she said, I'm not embarrassed by what happened with my parents. That was their thing. I didn't do it. So this is it. And so she's free from embarrassment. She's free from not telling her story. And she's free to just walk very boldly into where God is taking her in life.
Yes. And freedom comes at a cost. You have to decide what the cost is for your freedom. And then you have to decide, do you want to pay the cost to give up your freedom? I don't want to pay the cost to give up my freedom. You know, I was telling somebody just yesterday, you don't want to give up your freedom over that. You know, some things happen, and I understand the space that thing takes you in, but you don't want to give up your freedom over that, because, you know, freedom is a very valuable thing, and we need to make sure that we value and then put tax on our freedom.
And it's funny that you said that, because I told you what my title was for the conference last weekend that I spoke at, but the subtitle was Mind Your Mind, Mind Your Time, and Mind Your Purpose. And so,
can I add something to that?
Yes.
Mind your business.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, and that's all wrapped up in it. Absolutely. And so when you're focused on those things, then you don't really have a lot of time to start minding other people's business. I would say if you're minding your mind, and you're minding your time, and you're minding your purpose, you don't have a lot of time to go outside of that. So yes.
But people spend so much time minding other people's business that they don't even know what their own business is.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother topic.
And we're going to talk about it, because you know what? This is Sisters in Company talking about it.
That's right. Yes. And so we're going to move into Sister Chat.
Okay.
Sister Chat, I guess two Sundays ago, we ended the month, talking about Black history, President Obama, and then we opened Women's History Month, which is the month we're in now, the month of March, talking about Michelle Obama. And everybody, if you don't know who she is, you better ask somebody.
You must have been under a rock for at least 8 years.
Yeah. But what I want to talk about is Women's History Month in terms of when it started, and talk about one specific person that I think is so profound. And I think we know a little bit about her, but I don't know how much a lot of people know about her. And so Women's History Month was created like maybe back in 1968 in terms of becoming legislation, or becoming a proclamation. And so, no, it's been around since 1911, excuse me, since 1911. And I think that's so interesting because when you think about that, that was around the time that the women's suffrage movement started to happen. So it's been around a long time. And so one of the ladies that I see that's very important to the conversation is Shirley Chisholm. Yes. How many of you all know who Shirley Chisholm is? Give us some thumbs. We got a guest. We got a guest in the studio today. Shirley Chisholm. Now, based on my research, she was the first woman elected to the U.S. Congress, yes, representing New York's 12th district. And then she became the first black candidate to run for a major party's presidential race in 1972.
Yes.
And when she was running her campaign, and I love this, I've never heard this, I absolutely love this. Her campaign slogan was unbought and unbossed. I love that. That is a t-shirt. That is a t-shirt. Unbought and unbossed. And think about how incredible that was back in the day for her to even be that bold to say that, because we all know politics is a dirty game.
Yes.
And I tell Ira this all the time, I believe most people that go into politics initially, they go in with the right spirit. They really want to help, but something happens when they get in the mix. So to many of them, not all of them, but something just happens that, that sometimes takes people out of their character. So let's talk about what she did that was important, though, that a lot of our family members and your family members today are benefiting from. She was instrumental in helping to expand the food stamp program. The Special Supplemental Nutritional Program for Women and Infants and Children, which is WIC. And she played a critical role in those legislations, those policies, to make sure that women and children would be taken care of and nobody is going hungry and that babies have milk and everything. And so she was incredible. She also served on the Veterans Affairs Committee and the Education and Labor Committee. And this is powerful, and this is really going to lead us into the conference. When she hired her staff, 50% of them were women and they were black. 50%. So she was intentional about who she hired to put on her staff. How many of us are intentional in that way? And when she left, when she retired, she was the third highest ranking member of the Education and Labor Committee. And then one of the other things that I love this quote, because I kind of use it and I kind of paraphrase it. Her famous quote is, "If they don't give you a seat at the table, bring a folding chair." In other words, and I love it.
Don't wait on no seat at the table. Make your seat at the table.
That's exactly right. And when I use that, I think about my own life, how many doors I've knocked on, how many questions I've asked, because people aren't always inviting you in, and sometimes you have to invite yourself in.
Absolutely.
And so I was sitting at doing a project the other day, and we were talking, and the ladies at the table, they looked at me, they said, "You know a lot of stuff." I said, "Because I pulled up a folding chair to the table." I pulled up a folding table because you ask not, you get not. And I just really believe that. Right. And when you ask, sometimes they're going to tell you no.
Right.
But more often than not, they're going to tell you yes. But you have to ask and be willing to do that.
And don't just accept no, because that's what they say.
That is correct. Yes. And so Shirley Chisholm, she was just powerful, and the whole essence of Women's History Month is really to pay homage to all of the unsung heroes of women that were out back in the day trying to make a place for us to be able to sit here today, as well as looking at the current political climate of the number of women running for office.
I was doing some research about that. There are 26,000 women who have signed up to run for office across this country for the 2018 election. That's phenomenal.
That is.
And
it's historic.
It really is. And prior to that, I think it was only the highest number was like 900. So that's to give you a little bit of insight about how serious we are. And some of the research that I was doing really talked about, what was the catalyst for this?
Oh, yes.
Why did women decide that now is the time? And if not me, then who?
Correct.
It's really been a multitude of things. One is, the one that's sitting at the White House.
Number 45. Yeah. That's what the data shows.
He's not even worthy of a number as far as I'm concerned. So the one at the White House has been a huge catalyst for it. But more importantly, those who have stood up and supported the one at the White House and supported Roy Moore down in Alabama, somebody who has been accused of being a pedophile, and yet we were still willing to put this person in office. Imagine what that would have done. Imagine what kind of precedent that would have set in this country. A known pedophile is voted into office. And so those are the types of things that are the catalyst, trying to take away women's right to choose, women's right to decide. And, for me, for those who know me, I can get on a soapbox about this kind of stuff. And so I'm going to try not to do that right now, but I feel it burning in my soul. But I tell you, men has run this country in the ground. Ooh. And they don't want to take full credit for it. Because if we think about it, for a long time, women couldn't even have a leadership position. And so for them to even try to incorporate us in the foolishness is beyond me. But they have been running this country since the beginning of time. And yet they don't want to take full responsibility for everything that this country has as an issue. And so I applaud the women. I applaud the 6 young men in Kansas that's running for governor, and they're not even old enough to vote because they found a loophole in the law.
Oh, yes.
And now the adults are scrambling around trying to find a way to pass a law, even though it won't apply for this time, for going forward to say if you can't vote, you can't run for office. But the 6 young men and there's one female that's running for elected office in Kansas, I applaud them. I applaud the fact that the youth is now getting involved. They now clearly understand how the foolishness in Washington, D.C. impacts their lives in Kansas. They now understand that if not now, when? They now understand that you got to stand up and say what's right and what's wrong. I have a Republican friend, y'all. He went to Howard. He Caucasian. So, he got a little soul in him, but he Republican, and he and I, we can have, honest conversation, respecting each other's thing. But I tell you, this is what he said to me. It's getting harder and harder to defend him.
Well,
you know?
And I would like to say, Sherelle said men, but I would say some men, because there have been some men on the right path who really have tried to do the best that they could. So not all men have ruined the country, but
I'm talking about those that's been running this country. The ones who have been running this country have run this country in the ground. And yes, they may have stepped up and been positive on one thing, but negative on, voted against our interests on something else. So the ones that have been running this country, they raggedy.
So with the facts, there are at least 79 women in the country who are exploring runs for governor in 2018. That's incredible.
Yes.
And women running for the U.S. House of Representatives, as Sherelle said, is up by 350% from 41. That's all there were. And now in 2016, and now it's 2018, and that is up by 350%. That's pretty incredible. And of course, the data showed that most of these women, the 26,000, have reached out since Trump has been in office to inquire about how they can start a campaign. And so women are stepping up. Women have always stepped up. They've been, like I said, unsung heroes. And
Absolutely.
And it's so appropriate that we talk about that for this month, the month of March. And so what we're going to do is take a break, but we want you all to call in if you have any comments, any thoughts, any questions regarding the topics that we've already discussed. And our number is 833-202-8255. See you shortly. Welcome to Sisters in Company Talking About It live show. Hosted by me, Dr. Sharon Cradle and Sherelle Higgins. We will be discussing intriguing, intricate, inspirational, informative, and intelligent topics with our individual twists and talents.
We will present real stories, real solutions, and engage in real talk.
So we invite you to be our company every Sunday afternoon at 3:00 p.m. as we focus on transcendent thinking that will move you forward. You become the company you keep. What company do you keep?
Oh yeah, we are biological sisters by way of the south side of Chicago. So get ready to keep company with us and our guests as we talk about it.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back.
Yes, please call into the show if you have any comments or questions. 833-202-8255. Now, I was remiss to say this earlier that normally we open the show and I normally say, I'm going to give it to you straight, but with a little chaser. And then Sherelle
normally say, I don't have no chaser for you. Thus the comment about being raggedy.
So
I just call it like I see it.
That is right. And so I thought that was so appropriate for that last segment. Always trying to find that balance, right? Because I just don't believe all or everyone or, so that's just me. And we have a guest in the studio today. My sister, Kim Greenwood, from New Chapel Baptist Church. She just stopped by to just hang out with us. Hi, Kim.
Hi, Kim. There's no absolute in nothing, but when I tell you that the number is pretty close to absolute as far as I'm concerned about who has run this country in the ground, we're going to get real close to absolute.
Okay. So let's talk about it.
Let's talk about it. What are we talking about?
We're going to spend the duration of the show talking about my third annual Women Thou Art Great Women Sharpening Women Conference. And I tell you, I'm so excited about the conference because, to have an idea, for God to plant an idea and to see it come to fruition, and it's 3 years later and we're still doing it, that's when I know this is what's supposed to be done. And so I'm very clear about that. So why a women's conference? Well, I am a woman, and I have been fortunate in life to just run across and link up with so many women from so many different backgrounds, and the stories that they tell and the interests that they have and, the goals that they have. I started thinking to myself, we're over here working in isolation by ourselves, trying to handle our problems by ourselves, and we are a force to be reckoned with. And so why not bring us together in an environment where we can have some real talk, where we can network with one another and share each other's joys and pains. And so when Sherelle and I talked to Sherelle, I talked to some other people about it, and next thing I know, it wasn't even really a conversation. Right. We were like, let's just do it. Let's go for it. And we have been blessed by the experience. We often hear people say that they've been blessed, but the fact that God is using us as that vessel to help women, iron sharpen iron, women sharpen women, it's just a phenomenal thing.
It certainly is. And I tell you, just being connected to other women and getting to know women that in any other circumstance I would not have had an opportunity to meet is awesome. And, it's a small world.
Yes, it is.
And I tell you, in my day job, I go to work, and all of a sudden I run into somebody who was at the conference, and they was like, "I know you from somewhere." I'm like, "Really?" And she was like, "Yes, correct. I know you." And she said, "You were the MC at the conference." Yes. I absolutely love the way you MC that show. And so you just never know. And so from there, now of course I see her regularly and can recognize her. Mm-hmm. But just connecting with other women is very important to me, and making sure that, if I have something that can help somebody else, that I freely share it.
Yes. And we don't, we shouldn't walk this journey alone in the world.
That's right.
We have so much in common, and so much that we can do for each other. So let me just tell you a little bit about the conference in 2016, because it was the inaugural conference, and I just have to shout out these 4 women who did not hesitate when I called them and asked them to be a part of this. And the 5th one, she's been a part of it from a different perspective. But the first is my sister Sherelle, sitting next to me. And yes, those of you who are listening, we are biological sisters from the south side of
Chi-Town.
Yes, we are, for real.
Englewood.
And then my dear friend, Dr. Yvonne Colo, my sister-in-law, Dr. Marcia Credo, and the quiet storm that a lot of people do not know because she's not on social media or anything, and that is Cynthia Barnaby. When I tell you she's a quiet storm and she keeps me in check, I just love her to death. I just do. And then one other person, of course, is my bestie, Januelyn Washington. Lennon. Oh, she's gonna kill me. That was a Freudian slip.
Don't get me started.
Januelyn Lennon. Oh no, don't even go there.
She had a name. I ain't gonna say nothing else. I'm just gonna say she had a name called Washington.
Yeah, Januelyn Lennon. And so they just have encouraged me. They've prayed for me. They've supported me. They've given me ideas, and we have just been rolling. So the first year, I wanted to come out with a bang because people. We all experience some of the same things in life, right? And so one of the main topic for that year was blended families. So it was. And those of you who know me, I'm married, and Ira, my husband, has a daughter. And so I asked his ex-wife, Stephanie Cradle, who was on the show a couple weeks ago, actually, and Alyssa to serve on a panel with me to discuss the blended family. And when I tell you, there was some strongholds broken in that room of women that's been dealing with that, strongholds. And when I invite guests to be on my show, to my conference, one of the things that's very unique about it is that I don't tell them what to say. I want people to just be transparent and say what they feel like they need to say. I give you the theme and where I'm trying to go, and then I let them say what God has put on their heart to say. And that thing right there just removed some people. And then we had Miss Bobby. If you don't know who Miss Bobby is, you better ask somebody.
She'll invite you out to the parking lot.
She will. She talked to us women.
Yes.
About professionalism and our attitudes. Yes. And she about 5'2". She wear like 6-inch heels, and Miss Bobby is the truth. And so she was there. And then we had women there. My sister Felicia, who wrote a couple books about domestic violence and all kinds of things that millennials think about and things that she's been through. But then we had someone to just pop up who wasn't even on the panel to say that she was raped when she was in the military. Right. And we just all came around. We had women talking about, well, that's my story too, but I've never told anybody. And so that's the kind of environment that we try to create, because when you leave that room, we want you to release it, leave it there. Do not pick it back up. And that's why we wanted to be so transparent.
Yes, and we definitely had some other powerful women there telling their stories, like Dr. Johnson.
Yes.
Many people know her from Virginia State. She was the coach for the Woo Woos, the baddest cheerleaders on the East Coast and probably in the United States.
Yes.
She was talking about, her experience being put up on that pedestal in that small community down in Petersburg and being a pillar of the community, and everybody thinking that she had a happy, successful marriage, and, what it was like for her to have to go not only and tell people that the marriage was not good, motherhood, but also to go through that divorce and how it impacted her son. Many people go through divorces, and I have never been divorced, thank God, but I can understand that that's a very traumatic experience for many people. Even if you agree that that's the right thing to do, it can still be very traumatic. We also had Dr. Pam Love talking about being promiscuous as a teen and not really understanding why and what drove her to that. That testimony was amazing.
Yes.
One of the things I love about the conference is we don't use PowerPoint.
No PowerPoints at my conference.
No PowerPoints. People are just authentic about telling their stories and giving the audience something that they can either relate to or know somebody who is currently going through some of the things that were shared at that conference. And when Sharon talked about her friend Jan.
Wow.
And when I tell you I love Jan Yulin, I will never ever forget the presentation Janulin gave talking about what it's like to be one of very few women in security. And not only women but black women in security, and the journey that she had to take and the letters she had to write to the sheriff's wife and the sheriff every time she got promoted, because the sheriff tried to dismiss her and tell her that she would not be she was who she currently is.
That is right.
And so she, even after he died, she wrote the wife
a letter
and said, "Dear sheriff's wife, when you next time you go to the grave and visit your husband, you tell him that he told me I would never be, but tell him I am now."
That
I love
absolutely
that,
right,
because there are people in your life, in your circle, in your environment who will tell you what you cannot do.
Right.
And it has absolutely nothing to do with you. It's more about them and their insecurities. And they want to, misery loves company, and they want to try to bring you into their company. But she was bound and determined that she was not going to be their company, and she was the keynote speaker, so that's how we kicked it off.
That's right.
And so,
and the rest of the day
of the day it was all good.
Yes, the rest of the day was history. And I tell you, we just loved on each other.
Absolutely.
And so that first conference was pretty amazing. I think we had about 100 women there.
Yes.
And it was held at the golf course, Tantalian Golf Course in Fort Washington. And I think it's called the Country Club Golf Course now, something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but the one in Fort Washington. And so that's where it was. And we knew immediately after the first conference that we had to find another space. And so the second year we moved to the College Park Marriott Conference Center and Hotel, which was last year. And actually I have one of the booklets from that conference. I'm going to hold it up so you can see it. And this is the booklet. And of course, my husband is one of the major sponsors in so many ways. So he's on the back cover. But
hey,
this is it.
brother-in-law.
Yeah, and so last year's theme was transformed to assignment, right? Because after you get, information and you go to school and, you get all these tools, you have to transform. You got to transform so you can reach that assignment.
Absolutely.
And so last year, we had, again, Dr. Stephanie Cradle to open up with the keynote address. And she talked about transformation, and she used the image of the cocoon and the butterfly, and it just really set the day, and it was well received, and people were able to really get into the moment of that particular day. And then we had Miss Nikki Catherine McCrae.
Yes.
She walked up there. People didn't know what she was going to say. And she started talking about daddy issues. Oh, my
Absolutely.
God. You had to be there. I can't even do it justice. I just cannot do it justice. And every time I talk to Nikki and I see Nikki, she is just released. She is released, and she's doing some phenomenal things.
Yes.
So that we talked about that. And then we had Miss Tanya Wilson, who was dating, she's out of Baltimore, my soror, dating some pastor, and then, just how she was treated in the church and how she has made a decision to make sure that women who are broken that come into the church, that she is going to love on them, because that's what it's for, instead of, trying to put labels on them and dismiss them and all of that. And she kept it real. real. I don't know if you remember that.
I remember that. And
She kept it real.
And I'll tell you, ladies, this is a pet peeve of mine, being called wifey. My husband called me that one time before, and it almost caused some trouble. I had to explain to him the difference between a wife and a wifey. And Tanya was playing wifey.
Yes.
That's when you are doing everything like a wife, but you would never be the wife.
Right.
And so, I had to explain to my husband, so now he know, even when somebody mentioned wifey, he shy away from that concept.
Yeah.
But I absolutely remember her, and I certainly remember Pastor Valerie.
Oh,
Pastor Valerie
Cousin
gave me a saying that I still use to this day. Let the main thing be the main thing. Because we are so easily distracted that we tend not to focus on what we need to focus on because we too busy focusing on the stuff that don't matter.
That is right. And also we had Miss Bobby again, but this time we paired Miss Bobby with Miss Cherry.
Yes. Yes.
And you talking about, by the time Miss Bobby got finished, Miss Cherry said, you said what I wanted to say. I should have been saying what you were saying. So these are senior women who come in and just pour into us because we don't know it all, ladies. And our senior women are the women that's supposed to tell us what we shouldn't really be doing. Because they've been there, done that, right? And so in giving us a different way to walk this earth and to be wives and mothers and sisters and women. And so they were a dynamic duo.
And Miss Bobby, she broke it down for us, ladies,
she did.
About being a wife, about being in that relationship,
she did.
and about what's really important. She was like, forget them socks on the floor.
Yes.
Just kick them to the side and keep on moving because we tend to focus on the small things and let those small things, take control of the relationship or of the marriage as opposed to really focusing in on what's really important when you're in this committed relationship. Forget the socks on the floor. Is he treating you with respect?
Yes.
Is he loving on you the way that you want to be loved on? Those are the kinds of things that we need to focus on as opposed to worrying about the fact that he left his socks on the floor. Just because he leave them on the floor don't mean you have to pick them up.
That's right.
And if they stay there for 3 weeks, it'll be all right.
Yes, and I tell you, Minister Walida, she there are no words. She talked about, going down the highway, and those of you that were there,
yes,
and how you can just easily get caught up as a woman, and just her whole life story about things that she was engaged in life that could have taken her down a different road. And so, and then we had the famous Miss Caroline Hatchett. Miss Caroline Hatchett, she is a renowned gospel singer, actually. And I tell you, her health failed her a couple years ago. And when I reached out to her, she was like, I haven't sung in a long time, but for you, I'm coming. And we made it happen. And she just blessed our souls by being there, by being obedient. So she was just very instrumental.
And also, we had a panel of women talking about losing a child.
Yes.
It was not a dry eye in the room. There was so many women in that room who could relate to losing a child. Present company included. I lost 3 in pregnancy. And so... these ladies were kind enough to share their stories and touch the heart and help other people release the things that they were holding on to as it related to them losing children themselves.
Yes.
And so, when you have a panel like that,
it was incredible.
It really is incredible.
It was incredible.
And it's important to talk about it because a lot of people think, people can't relate, people don't know what you're going through, but, we had, and I had a lady in the room who came up to me and said, and, I thought that I had moved beyond when I lost my child. And, this just, made me realize that I'm not beyond it. I'm still stuck with it. And I try to put it in my my subconscious, but it is really in my conscious.
And these women, and that's why the title was transformed to assignment, because they just felt like experiencing such a loss transformed them to do the things that they're doing in life. And those women, all 3 of them lost live children. They all lost live children. And so I'm going to tell you, and I just cannot forget this woman. She was there the first year and closed us out and preached for us. And she talked about the oil. And that's Pastor Margot Gross. My God, she is amazing. And she opened us up last year, opened up the conference, and she's going to open us up on Saturday. And I tell you, there is none other like her. She is truly amazing. So those are some of the things. Those were just the speakers. And then I decided that I was going to recognize 3 women every year by surprise. And I have my niece, she's now a freshman in college, who it was the commissioned artist. And she started doing this work with us when she was 16 years old. And what I would do is I would give her pictures of people I wanted her to paint a likeness of. And I tell you, every time we unveil those pictures in terms of those portraits, in terms of what that baby was able to do, there's not a dry eye in the room.
That's exactly right.
And so we did the first year, Diane Janulin and my mother. Last year, Sherelle surprised her, just took her totally off guard. Yes, my stepmom and Mama Becky, my mother-in-law. And this year won't be any different. They don't know who they are, but I'm coming down your lane, everybody. So I got my 3 for this year.
Okay, I started laughing a few minutes ago because my husband is watching on Facebook. And when I was talking about that whole term wifey, you know that song by Jaheim, I think it is, that talk about you my wifey. He said, and I can't even stand that song anymore.
Yes. And so right now we have a lot of treats planned for the conference. And this year's theme for the conference is... I just lost that's being over 50, y'all.
Yeah, there you go.
I just lost it. I'm gonna come back to you in a second. Oh, season of significance.
Right. There
season
you go.
of significance.
You made me forget.
Yeah. So this year's theme is season of significance. And what many people don't know is that I'm keynoting my own conference this year. How about that?
Yay! About time.
I didn't want to do it the first 2 years because I was just, concerned about the details and just making sure that everything rolled the way that it needed to go, and that the women were comfortable, and that, we were dotting all of our I's and crossing all our T's. But this year, and I knew when I did it the first year that I would keynote the third year, because God had already told me that. I didn't know what we were gonna talk about, but we're talking about this season of significance, and so I'm gonna open it up. And our main theme this year is women and cancer. You don't even want to miss this one. I'm going to tell you.
Exactly.
The ladies who are participating who are cancer free or currently have some type of diagnoses, they're going to blow you away. And then to round it out so that it'll be educational, we have an oncologist, Dr. Lori Wilson from Howard University. We have Dr. Carolyn Missick coming all the way from Ohio. She's a pathologist. We have Trina Bostic, who is a technologist. Some of the first people that we see when we go get our exams, they're going to come and give us a real education on what's going on. And the beautiful thing about Dr. Lori Wilson is that she's a breast cancer survivor herself. So she's going to be able to talk about it from a personal experience as well as an oncologist who's treating other women. And,
we all know somebody who has been touched with cancer. If we haven't been touched with it ourselves, we all know somebody who was not a survivor of cancer. And so it is going to be phenomenal.
It's going to be fire.
Yes, absolutely.
The whole conference is going to be fire. And I want to show you how serious I was. So just about everybody who's purchased a ticket, or not a ticket, but purchased their T-shirts, they typically wear the T-shirt to the conference.
Yes.
It says, "Woman, thou art great."
Yes.
And have it coming out, the words coming out of your mouth, because what you say out of your mouth matters. It just gives life and brings life to everything. And I'm not saying that you are perfect. I'm just saying that you are great, and you're not, you strive for excellence, not perfection. So we are so excited. Diane Jackson, we have Coach Kelly, the millennial. We have Margot Gross. We have my soror, Minister Darnicia Harvey, coming in to close us out. We just have such a powerful lineup. Sybil Smith, Trudy Caldwell, and the list just goes on, and it's just one day of power and fire.
It is going to be amazing. And because, really at a conference such as this, one of the things I like about this conference is you don't have to choose which session you want to go to.
No.
Everybody gets everything.
Right.
Everybody's in one room together. It gives you an opportunity to network. It gives you an opportunity to really, just get comfortable and know that you are where you are going to be. And a conference such as this, it is so important for the MC to do her thing.
And keep us going.
Because I have to keep the conference going.
Yes.
I have to keep people entertained. I have to, make sure we stay kind of timely. And so, that role is important. And I tell you, for the first conference, Sharon tried to get Monique.
I did.
And she ain't know she had somebody better than Monique right in the family.
Look, I tried to get her until she said $25,000. And my girlfriend,
I gave her a significant discount.
Yeah. And my girlfriend Jane was like, your circle, you don't really need a Monique. And I was like, you know what? You're right. So we just kept it moving. But let me mention two things to you. The first one is honey lamb. How did we forget honey lamb?
Yes.
That's all we're going to say. Honey lamb and fitness, because we do a little bit of something at the conference about fitness. And honey lamb, my sorority sister, is amazing. And one of the things that's important about a conference like this, and those of you that are out there that's listening, I need sponsorship. We do the best that we can to bring it on. We're trying to keep the ticket prices down. So I need a major corporation to really reach out to us and really have a conversation and seriously consider offering some sponsorship, because women are changed and we have testimonials. I donate money to organizations after the conference, because depending on the topic we're talking about, I do. And I have the letters from the women or the organizations who receive the donation, and they're in the conference booklet. So we are very serious about what we're doing, and the major sponsorship would be just icing on the cake.
Yes, absolutely. And of course, as always, we're running out of time. So I just want to throw this quick thing out there. Buy your ticket. It is not too late to get a ticket to the conference. You will not be disappointed. And the most important thing, because we like to eat, the food.
Oh, the food is amazing.
Absolutely delicious.
Food is amazing.
So you want to make sure you get there and get some of that food, because it is good.
Yes. And we do a breakfast and lunch, full lunch and breakfast.
And it's all included in your ticket price.
Yes.
So you definitely...
Eventbrite.com.
Eventbrite.com. Woman Thou Art Great.
Third annual
Woman Thou Art Great conference. You want to be there. And
you have vendors.
And you
phenomenal
got
vendors.
And next week, we're going to talk about the conference on our show. We're going to talk about how great it was.
And hopefully we'll have some folks to join us in the studio.
Absolutely. And as we lead you all out of here, I just want to tell you, I'm going to see Kim tonight. I'm going on a date with my man. And I'm going to see Kim tonight, and we're going to share some love. One of Kim's songs say, share your love.
Yeah.
We're going to share some love, and we're going to have a great time. And we are going to get ready for this week that's coming up, because this week is going to be phenomenal.
It is. And I can't even go see Kim because I have my last meeting preparation for the conference on Saturday, and I'm so excited. But you need, who are you surrounding yourself with? That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely.
And I just bless God for the women He has surrounded me with, and to me that speaks of leadership too. Where I'm weak, they are strong.
Yes.
And so that's what you have to do, and you cannot be intimidated by that, because I know some bright, intelligent, phenomenal women who are doing things, and I don't know everything, and so I know a lot but not everything. And so to have their creative juices and their encouragement, and for them to give me ideas and be there and willing, there are just no words. There's not enough money in the world to really buy that kind of friendship and that type of circle. So next week we're going to come back on Sunday after the show. Hopefully we'll be able to bring some of our guests with us so that they can tell you, and have maybe an unbiased perspective. But we'll bring them. And thank you all so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Enjoy your afternoon.
Thank you.